How to treat asthma naturally? That is a great question, and take it from somebody who's been there, done that. It is possible. If you've been struggling with asthma, then you're probably looking for other solutions for helping be able to get on top of it. That sounds familiar. This video is for you. You're in the right place because we're going to answer that question. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Shockley, Doctor of Cause, chiropractic, board certified in sports medicine, and specialized in clinical nutrition. In this video, we're going to be going over the number one mistake you're more than likely making that will trigger your asthma and make your symptoms that much worse. Then I'm going to share with you how my brother cured himself from asthma, from being heavily medicated and on breathing treatments to completely medication-free and no issue since. And finally, I will be sharing with you the easiest way to stop asthma in its tracks from the comfort of your very own home. Let's dive on in. All right, when it comes to asthma, what is the biggest mistake you're probably making without even knowing it? It is, what are you eating? Everything has to do with diet. Unfortunately, when it comes to health, it is a big variable. Now, what you don't realize is the particular foods that you're consuming. If it is a food that creates inflammation, and it stresses out the digestive system, that can predispose you and basically create triggers just from what you're eating. What it ultimately ends up doing is it will lower your body's threshold. The lower the threshold goes, the more susceptible you are to things in your environment triggering you. Things that wouldn't necessarily trigger you on a normal day or other people. It's like, why are some people triggered by all of these different pollutants and allergens compared to other people who are not? A lot of it has to do with person's threshold. So if you think about like a spectrum, this continuum, where on one end we have, picture like our little old lady who gets out of bed and has to sit right back down because that was just enough. Like her body needs a rest. And then on the opposite end, we always put like our pro athletes, our Olympic athletes. They're doing like the insane, crazy things that no human's capable of, and they're totally fine. So on this continuum, where are you? And depending on where you are, dictates what your body is going to perceive in the world around you as a stress or not. So it's called our threshold. One of the best ways to lower threshold for somebody who's already dealing with asthma and or allergies is by the food you're choosing to put into your system. So there are some critical things you want to be avoiding because they inflame the body, they lower the threshold, and they make you more prone to asthma attacks. Like I said, they also amplify allergies. So what are those foods? Let's go over them. Most of these are things that really nobody should be consuming. So I always like to use people's challenge, their health challenge, and put a positive light on it. Like, I know it's not fun to have asthma attacks, or for my people who have celiac, like it's not fun, but ultimately it makes you have to make healthier choices, which in the long run is going to help you be healthier than somebody who doesn't have a body that says, hey, what you just did was really offensive. Don't do it again, right? So trans fats are not good for anybody. Your trans fats are found in your fried foods, your vegetable oils, and those hydrogenated fats. Another food to be avoiding to help ward off these asthma attacks would be processed foods and high sugar foods. Again, things we shouldn't be eating. And the reason being because this really amplifies the inflammation in our body, which lowers our threshold. So now everything we come in contact with is an irritant. You know, if this is a baby dealing with asthma, that was my brother, and you'll hear his story in a moment. I mean, he was diagnosed, I think, at 2 or 3 weeks old. So if you are dealing with a baby who has asthma, depending on if you're breastfeeding or not, if you're not being able to breastfeed, what are you using for the formula? That can really change the baby's threshold. Also, staying away from some of the common food allergens. One of the ones that there's still great debate over is dairy. Dairy is going to create inflammation in your system. Okay, if we had a cow out back, all grass-fed, grass finished, no injections, completely raw milk products, maybe we could have that periodically, but there's still question of we're the only species that uses another species milk beyond toddler years. Not entirely sure. However, what we know is it creates lots of inflammation, so stay away from it. Soy is another one that we should not be consuming. Certain nuts, depending on how you're doing with those or not, I say avoid peanuts for sure. The rest of them are kind of out for debate. And then gluten containing products as well. Believe it or not, most of them in America that you're going to get are chock full of pesticides also, which again creates lots of inflammation. And that's going to lower that threshold. Some other things you might want to steer away from are any of the foods that contain lots of preservatives and also colorings. Again, if it comes in a package or it's like pre-done for you, it's probably compromised in some way, shape, or form. If you've ever looked at what our food in America contains compared to what food contains over in Europe, what you'll find is their ingredient list is much smaller than ours. And in fact, when you compare them side by side, they're the same products, like the same Campbell's chicken soup. You'll see like maybe they have 5 ingredients and we have like 15, 20. The extra ingredients that are being put in our foods here are all chemicals. Those are not things that we should be consuming. Our body recognizes those as foreign and it creates a reaction from it. So avoiding that as much as possible helps again to raise your threshold up so you're not as susceptible. And then the last one to talk about are animals that are being injected with hormones, antibiotics. They're being fed things that they're not designed to eat either. So that's like your farm factory fish, your commercialized beef and eggs. You want things that are pasture raised, wild caught, grass fed, grass finished, cage free, the way that God intended them to be. And when you eat more real whole foods and avoid all of this stuff we just talked about, you're going to reduce the inflammation in your system or in your kiddo's system. And ultimately, that's going to raise their threshold so you're not as susceptible. You're not as easily triggered by anything else that you come in contact with. Now, before I get into how my brother cured himself from asthma, from being super heavily medicated and on breathing treatments to none and still to this day, I just want to give you a reminder to click that subscribe button down below, turn the notifications on, and hey, while you're down there, give me a big thumbs up. I appreciate it. I am regularly producing videos that are there for you to be able to take back control of your health and become more invincible. Ultimately achieve something I like to call total body mastery. And I don't want you to miss out on a future episode. So click the subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and give me a big thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. True story. How in the world did my brother cure himself from asthma? Little bit of backstory. So I'm fairly certain he was 3 weeks old. Not 2, but 3 weeks old. And I remember like him being heavily medicated. We had the nebulizer, device at our house so he could do breathing treatments regularly. And as I got older and my parents shared stories, they talked about how they would lay with him at night, worried if he was going to stop breathing because his asthma was so bad. Along this path, I also had my own health issues, which this is his story, not mine, but just know these were happening simultaneously. I had chronic sinus issues at this point while my brother was still struggling with asthma. And because of where I was at and the options I was given, which was surgery after being medicated for over 5 years and not getting any better, only getting worse and not having answers, we found a chiropractor who totally changed my life, but not just mine, our whole family's. My brother also was treated by him, and it was not just adjustments. Okay. He taught us what we were doing in our lives every single day that was aggravating our situations. And one of the big things that we changed in this timing was our diet. We were avoiding all of those foods that I just got done mentioning to you. We were eating more real foods. We had cut out a lot of foods that promote inflammation in the body, which are all your sugars and your processed, your junk foods, but also all the grains. Which we were both athletes. So, we were supposed to be carb loading. We'd have pasta almost at every single meal. And we realized that was not what we needed to be doing. So our food, while my mom was doing the best with what she knew of what looked healthy, we had home cooked meals all the time. We just needed to change what it was we were consuming. So there was a big dietary change that happened with my brother. He was eating more real, whole, like how they're raised in nature, how they occur in nature foods. In addition to this, he also got to a point where he was just fed up. Now, he had improved from when he was a baby. He wasn't doing nebulizer treatments on an ongoing basis, but he still had to do them periodically. And of course, the cold winter months were the worst. But one thing along the way is he was a very active kid and he was competitive in his sports. And at this point, he was getting more into playing hockey. And you could see it, like he had to use an inhaler and he'd be skating around the floor and he'd get to the point where he'd hunch over because he had to catch his breath because he's still dealing with asthma. And I think he was 12 or 13 years old when he finally just looked at my parents and he's like, I am not taking this medication anymore. He didn't like how it made him feel. He didn't like having to use it. And he's just like, I'm done. So mentally, he made this shift. Now, I'm not saying that that's the exact way to do things, but for him, that's where he was at. And he told my parents, you can't make me do this. I'm not doing this anymore. But in conjunction of this mind shift with him, he was exercising regularly. We were eating cleaner whole foods. And then we also added in essential oils. And my mom put diffusers in both of our rooms. And she allowed us to choose what oil did we want to have diffusing in our room every night. And she was so bummed when he chose all of the citrus fruits, whether grapefruit or orange. I think it was orange was the first thing he really wanted. But grapefruit, orange, and lemon. And she had a PDR, like a physician's desk reference book for essential oils. And what are they generally used for? And when she went and looked up these citrus oils, unbeknownst to her, they're phenomenal for respiratory health. So for the better part of over a year, she diffused grapefruit or orange or lemon in his room, even though she wanted to do things like eucalyptus and the stuff that we know opens up airways. And in conjunction with that, I think he was doing a little bit of nutrition. So really what he did to cure himself is we changed lifestyle and we added in more real food. We added in more nutrients, and then we added in these essential oils that he breathed in on a regular basis to help his body heal. And slowly but surely, you saw that he was no longer bending over while playing hockey because he was fine. And he is still fine. Like, that was when he was 12 or 13. He's 38 now. He's never been on another medication. He's never used an inhaler. He's never had to have a breathing treatment. The guy can go hike with me on a whim and do 16 miles, climbing over 2,500 feet up above tree line where there is no oxygen out here in Colorado, 12,000, 13,000 feet above sea level. And he's fine. I do think that mental peace was a big part of it. We have to be able to get to a place where we make up our mind that life is going to be different. And he was committed to that. And that, as simple as it sounds, it was huge. And ultimately, in my story that was running in parallel with his, I went from being a super sick kid, heavily medicated, like 6 medications, 5 years straight, no answers, was told I was going to go on IV antibiotics. That didn't take care of it. Was told I was going to have sinus surgery, to in less than a year's time, no more sinus problems. And then everything else I was experiencing went away. I was a completely different kid in less than a year. From shifting up our lifestyle, one of the biggest things was food and learning how to do things that kept providing more good input into the body and created opportunity for it to heal. So you really can heal. The great thing about asthma, not that it's asthma, but one of the best things is it's not generally something that gets worse over time unless your health deteriorates. Normally, when you're first diagnosed, that's the worst it's going to be. You have the ability to get over it. You have the ability to really minimize how your symptoms are or how frequently you're having attacks. Okay. So I'm really, really curious. Are you ready to be done suffering from asthma? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you ready to take back control of your health? Again, comment down below. Now, what is the most effective way for getting over asthma and creating this environment for healing to occur? I've just mentioned one of them. It's food. Okay. We're going to come back to that because I've shared with you what to avoid. Let's go in a little bit more detail of what you want to be consuming. But there are some other things you can do at home to help create a better environment, to calm the body down, reduce the inflammation, quit irritating it on a regular basis so it can actually heal. As I mentioned, one of the things that we were experiencing in this time of life where my brother was getting well and made up his mind to be well was chiropractic. I am a chiropractor, treated many patients with asthma who that's not why they came to see me. They came in for a different reason, but being who I am and what I understand, I always am evaluating and making sure that the areas that are where the nerves exit the spinal cord that go to the lungs, which is the upper part of your thoracic spine, to make sure that that area is free and moving the way that it should, that we don't have tension there. Because if we do, we are creating potential interference with our brain's ability to communicate to our lungs. And if the lungs are not getting proper communication from the brain, they're not going to work the way that they are meant to. Chiropractic care has worked really well for all of my patients with asthma. In fact, I had a gal who came to me who always was using her inhaler, and she's older and she's not in the best shape. But when we added in chiropractic, the only time she was reporting to me that then she had to use her inhaler, which was an extreme improvement, was if she got sick. Otherwise, she had been living without her inhaler once we added in the chiropractic. So phenomenal. Add in some of these alternative forms of healthcare, whether it's acupuncture, chiropractic, even massage can be beneficial for helping remove tension in that area. Something else that helps you start taking back control of your health is making sure you have an environment at home that gives the body a break from the toxic world that's full of irritants. So avoiding smoking if somebody smokes in the household, not doing that in the household, changing clothes before you come back in the household, because that's something that is super irritating to people who are dealing with asthma. Shifting, which is something else we did in the same time frame of when my brother got well, using household cleaning products, laundry detergent, hygiene products that are clean, that are, free from all these chemicals we're being exposed to. So again, you're reducing the amount of exposure to irritants, which gives the body more threshold. It gives the body more capability to not be taken out with everything. And now compared to back then in the early 90s, we have so much more available to us that are safer, cleaner solutions. So you can find them. If you don't know where to go, just go to your health food store and start looking in those aisles. Okay. I'm not a fan of using antibacterial anything. And part of it is because it impacts our immune system in a negative manner. Okay. Our digestive system, which is part why our food is also so incredibly important, is where our immune system lives. And if our digestive system is not doing what it should be, our gut health is not optimal, well, our immune health is going to be challenged as well. In our gut lives this microbiome. And the microbiome is like this ecosystem inside of us that really has more influence over our health than what we have any idea about. Like more and more research is coming out just in the last few years about how much this influences not only our immune health, but our overall health and well-being, our mood, how we remember things, like how medications work in our body. It's intense. When you use antibacterial products on a regular basis, you're messing up that ecosystem, and you're creating an environment for more bad guys to kind of hang out there. That is not going to help create this protective armor that you could have if it's full of bad guys. It's creating more opportunity for infections, more opportunity for you to be irritated by whatever you come in contact with, because again, it's going to lower your threshold. So avoid antibacterials. Use real soap. That's fine. Even Mayo did a study that showed people who regularly wash their hands with antibacterial soaps have higher amounts of bad bacteria on their skin compared to somebody who just uses soap and water. Soap and water does the trick, okay? Adding in essential oils. Like I said, all the citrus oils work really well for respiratory system, but all of the things you would think about, like peppermint oil, eucalyptus, any of the mints, they open up the airways. So adding those and diffusing them in your household could be really helpful. You can also wear, there's necklaces now that you can put some drops in, and so you're breathing it kind of all day long. You can actually wear the oils too. Just make sure you're getting oils from a company that is having pure oils as well, so that they're just clean and they're safe. Managing stress is another huge thing that will put all of this on fast forward, because stress negatively impacts every single cell in your body. And again, it really is detrimental to your digestive system, which ultimately means it's going to be detrimental to your immune system as well. And that is what regulates, what is your body reacting to? Okay, so we want to manage stress. We want to exercise as best as we can. We have to use our respiratory system to try to strengthen it. Okay. All of these are lifestyle factors that are within your control. So pick one or two and start making those shifts, incorporate consistent changes, and you will see you are going to start feeling better. You are going to not need as much medication or to use your inhaler as frequently. So as far as those foods go, instead of belaboring the process, I just have an example for you. So all you need to do is go down into the description below, click on it so it expands. Once it expands, scroll down, look for your full body reset meal plan. This is a full-blown example for an entire week of what it looks like to eat for improving digestive health, improving your immune health, which means it's going to improve your threshold. Decrease that inflammation, guys. This is going to help empower you more than anything else that you could do. So if you're going to pick one, maybe work on your diet and do this. Follow this example, okay? So again, look down in the description below, find that 7-day full body reset meal plan, click on it, just tell me where to send it, and you will be on your way. Hopefully this was helpful for you. I look forward to seeing you on a future episode. God bless.